Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
Welcome back to another episode of Superhuman Radio. Today is Tuesday, which means we have the BluePrint Power Hour, which we'll start in just a moment with my co-host, Coach Rob Regish. Before we do that, we have to pay homage to our title sponsor, without which this show would come to a screeching halt, and that is Legendary Foods. If you go to eatlegendary.com and use the code SHR, you'll get 10% off your entire purchase, and every single thing on their website is worthy of your dollars. They make snacks that actually are good for you. I don't care what the new word for sugar is, agave and honey and, simple syrup and all that stuff. Sugar is one thing that you should keep out of your diet as much as possible. And that makes snacking difficult because we crave sweet. I do. At the end of a meal, I'm not done eating until I have something sweet. I don't know what it is. I choose their nut butters, a couple tablespoons of that. So sweet. You'll think there's a ton of sugar in it, but they're not. And of course, the Tasty Pastry, which is a Pop-Tart upgraded to have 9 grams of protein and less than 1 gram of sugar. And they're good not just for you, but for your children. Don't forget, when school comes back, put them in their lunch boxes. And without further delay, we have Rob's music.
Calling all BluePrint Army. Fall in line. It's time for the BluePrint Power Hour with Coach Rob Regish on the Superhuman Radio Network.
Hey, Rob, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. We got some thunderstorms rolling through, but other than that, everything's fine.
So they're still rolling through for you?
Yeah, we're supposed to have them, I think, through today and tomorrow. They were pretty bad last night. Yeah.
Okay, so I have a confession to make.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't sleep last night because we had thunderstorms last night.
Oh.
And power outages and trees falling and all that sort of stuff. So when it came time to do the show this morning, I took a handful of Mark Bell's Mind Bullet Kratom. I had a Bang energy drink, caffeine, and I did smoke just a little bit of weed before I came in. And I feel like I feel normal now. I don't feel exhausted. I feel like I can do a show.
As long as you feel better. That's all.
It's all about being transparent and honest on this show. I'll never lie to you about anything.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what's new with you? You have some exciting things going on over at CoachRobRegish.com.
Yeah. So, with the whole COVID thing still going on, it is no secret that times remain tough for many people. I hear about it every day, and I'm experiencing it too. But instead of just talking about it, I am going to do what I can to try and help. So along those lines, a couple of things. One, effective immediately and for a limited time, the new BluePrint Bulletin subscribers are going to get the first 3 months of their subscription for just $4.99 a month, so less than $5. And secondly, and related, we have decided to open up the entire library to all BluePrint Bulletin subscribers. And so that's almost 100 back issues now, covering over 400 topics, many of which are not discussed. I don't see them discussed anywhere else, including, a few that aren't on the show. But it begs the question, why subscribe? Well, I'll tell you, if you like the BluePrint Power Hour, you will love the Bulletin. One guy told me the BluePrint Bulletin is like the Power Hour on steroids. So just to give you a little appetizer, here's just a portion, tiny sliver of what you'll learn. Have you ever heard of anti-creatine or what it can do for you? You will read all about that, plus where to get it. How about a chin-up protocol, because there's a training thing in every issue too, that can add up to an inch to your upper arms in 60 days. You'll get that too. I will also show you how a certain easily obtained asthma medication combined with an over-the-counter supplement added 17 pounds of muscle in 14 weeks in this study. And no, I'm not talking about clenbuterol. And then finally, I'm going to show anybody that wants to listen or learn how to walk in to any drugstore and how to walk out with 4 items that are guaranteed to blow the doors off of any commercially selling fat burner, out there today. So those are just 4 of roughly 400, right? Game changers that await you, plus a new issue every month. And right now you can get all of that, like I said, for less than $5 a month. 100% satisfaction guaranteed. You have my word or your money back. No questions asked. None. So head on over to CoachRobRegish.com. Get your free sample issue so you can see what I'm talking about and really what I put into it. And use coupon code SHR to take advantage of our best offer ever. I really hope that helps some people that are feeling it because of COVID.
We have to give a shout out to somebody also real quick. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a gal who loves the BluePrint Power Hour and loves you, and she follows you and your directions to the T. And she has put on considerable amount of muscle for her size and frame and where she started. And she attributes a lot of it to the things that she took away from your shows. She says, I've been training. She said, I love the BluePrint Power Hour. Your co-host is so good. Love this guy. I've been training, as he said, for the past meso heavy doubles, singles as a warm-up, rest 10 minutes, lower the load 20%. She talks about the working sets that she follows from your loading patterns.
Yeah.
I've never in my life been lifting heavier than I am right now. I've done have so much progress. So she's originally a Russian. She's originally from Russian.
Yeah.
She lives on this cute little island somewhere off the coast of France.
Wow.
Her name is Maria Ivanikova, and I follow her on Instagram. And she doesn't have a lot of followers, but she should, because she has fallen in love with physical culture.
Awesome.
She eats, she trains hard, she has her own gym in her home. And whenever the sun is out, she's out on the beach laying in the sun.
Yeah.
And she takes these cute little videos of her walking, and then she flashes her abs and she smiles.
Yeah.
She looks like she's having so much friggin' fun in life that I think we could all tear a page out of her book. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, that is very humbling. Thank you for sharing that, Maria. And I'm just glad that people are benefiting, and like you said, you can see it in their faces and what they do and how they live their lives. And I think that's awesome.
If you find her on Instagram, you have to go to her most recent before and after picture. So her Instagram handle is iMaria, IMARIA _IV. I guess that's for the her last name. So IMARIA _IV. Find her before and after picture. She was so lean, but so tiny. She's a tiny girl.
Yeah.
And now her quads are big. She's got amazing lats. I always joke with her and say, you probably could fly if you try. I mean, she's got amazing lats, and all she cares about is training, eating, sleeping, being in the sun. She is living the Spartan life, and it's doing her very well. So there you go.
Yeah, that will serve her well.
So the first question comes from Dennis Condry. He said, I'd like your opinion on overhead presses, standing or seated. I've read where it's dangerous, wrecks your shoulders, etc., but see lots of guys doing them. What's the story?
Well, the issues with overhead pressing are complex, and I'm not convinced that you can make a definitive statement that all overhead pressing is good or bad. It depends on a number of things, but primarily it depends on the individual, right? So, for example, I know people that on their best day cannot squat because their shoulders are so inflexible, right? They can't get their hands up there and balance the barbell on their backs. On the other hand, within 1 week of surgery on my right shoulder, I was able to easily hold that barbell and squat. And I probably could have done it earlier than that, but the surgeon insisted I wear a sling for a few days. I have done plenty of seated shoulder presses and standing military presses without issues. That was earlier in my life. However, I do agree that anytime the elbows drift away from the body, the movement itself becomes more precarious. And I've spoken many times on this show about the example where if you trip and fall forward, your body assumes its strongest and safest position by putting your hands here and your elbows tucked in, right in line with the shoulder and the wrist. And so, that example, I think, rings true with most people. However, again, because of individual differences, they may or may not be able to perform certain movements. So let me just give you an idea of what I do in my own training now with good shoulders, but I want to be safe about it, which I think, is where a lot of people are, right? It's something of a compromise. My main shoulder movements for strength, power, heavy loading, whatever you want to call it, are handstand shoulder presses, handstand push-ups with a weight vest, and push presses on the leverage squat, or for those that don't have one, a barbell jammer press. So you will note that in both of those instances, the elbows are kept either in front, right, well in front of the body, or in line with the wrist, and or both, anatomically, again, which is the strongest and safest position. I'll say this though, when the gym closed, I didn't have the leverage squat anymore, so I could no longer do this push press. So what I came up with was seated trap bar overhead presses. Now, you will need a trap bar, in all fairness, with extra long sleeves on it, right, where the weights go, and probably a set of adjustable squat stands or safety supports, if you will. I'm fortunate in that I have that. It does a beautiful job keeping everything where it should be, the wrist, elbow, and shoulder, while also kind of uniquely centering the load, right, just like in a trap bar deadlift, in the middle of the body, or in the middle of the torso. Once I am done with those heavier movements, I move on to rear delts. And personally, I make sure to perform 100 face pulls during the workout. Sometimes that's 5 sets of 20, sometimes it's 4 sets of 25, and or any combination that gets me to 100 reps. Again, this isn't a heavy thing though, right? It's just face pulls as you usually see on a high pulley cable. I happen to do them with a mini band. And obviously, depending upon how far back from the mini band you stand, the resistance will vary. I have included those now instead of the dumbbell side laterals that I was doing, given the face pulls, in my opinion, are infinitely safer. And the rear delt gets plenty of heavy work during my deadlifts and other rows that I do on my back day. Now, I'm not saying that you can't do dumbbell side laterals without hurting yourself. What I am saying is I see a lot of people, including me, and this is how I hurt my shoulder. I was starting to get carried away with weight. That's not a movement where your body's meant to lift a lot of weight. You're way away from the fulcrum of your body. So here's the final word. I would tell you overhead pressing is not universally bad, but you will need to determine, right, how the movements affect you first. If you don't want to learn handstand push-ups for whatever reason, I would recommend either the trap bar overhead press, if you can pull it off, dumbbell presses using a neutral, right, or pronated grip, I should say, or the barbell jammer press, right, if your trap bar doesn't have long enough sleeves. Those, again, being your core movement. So you can finish that by training, as I do, your rear or side delts. Just be mindful not to get carried away with the weights.
Okay. The next question comes from Hank Simmons. Is it Simmons or Simons? I guess it's
I think
Simmons.
it's Simmons, yeah.
What do you think about of low-quat? I found a study saying that it turned on all kinds of muscle growth genes and is there are a few products that I have my eye on. Is it good stuff? What is low-quat?
Yeah. Well, it was the first I had heard of it maybe a couple of months ago. I'm familiar with the study that he's referencing, and you can find it doing a quick search on PubMed. Essentially, though, if you go back to the genesis of this, what scientists did was they were looking for something. They were scanning databases for compounds that would be helpful in slowing muscle atrophy. And they kept coming back to one name, ursolic acid. Now, as you can imagine, that study and others have kind of been cherry picked by a few supplement companies that sell the stuff. More importantly, there has been since then, there has at least been one human study done, which we'll discuss now. The first thing you need to know, and maybe the most telling, is that ursolic acid is a component of low-quat and what they think is responsible for its effect on muscle tissue. And in fact, we do know from studies, ursolic acid turns on many of the genes that are favorable to muscle growth. And if you believe some other studies, fat loss as well. So at this point, this stuff's looking real good, right? Well, what they did was they took 54 people, they gave half of them placebo and half of them got 500 milligrams of low-quat leaf extract, which at the end of the day gave them about 50 milligrams of ursolic acid.
That's a lot of ursolic acid.
Well, yes and no. Yes and no. So the study went 12 weeks, and here were the results. No differences in muscle strength, muscle mass, and physical performance were observed between the two groups. The one thing they did see was that the right hand grip strength of female subjects in the low-quat group was found to be significantly better for some reason than that of the subjects in the placebo group. So I guess if you're a female
and you have a really strong left hand, but you want to increase the strength of just your right hand,
right,
low-quat is for you.
Now, it's possible, to your point, Carl, it's possible that the dose wasn't high enough. The authors themselves mentioned that. But here's the thing. Highly purified ursolic acid supplements have been out for years. And in fact, most of them give you 300 milligrams a day or more.
Okay. I was going to ask you, because I had Pat Arnold's ursolic, I think it was called.
Yep.
I didn't know what the milligram dosage of that was, of the actual active ursolic acid. So you're saying it's probably around 300 milligrams?
Yeah, it was a hell of a lot more than 50.
Okay. Okay. I stand corrected then.
Well, you see, the problem is this. Even in people using tons of the stuff, nobody's reporting widespread benefits, right? More muscle, less fat. This stuff is noticeable. And frankly, and I think Pat has said this, he kind of rushed that product to market before he figured out ursolic acid has horrible bioavailability. To his credit, he reformulated it and put it into a transdermal.
Right.
I hear mixed things about that. Some people like it a lot. Some people don't. It's really hard to say. Now, the one thing I will say about ursolic acid is that I did find some very impressive data showing lower creatine kinase levels. So if you're somebody like me who's prone to rhabdomyolysis, right, and the muscle tissue, too much damage happening to the muscle, you might want to keep a few bottles of this stuff handy, right, for your heaviest workouts. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother. I think it's had its chance, and it's just not as big a thing as we thought it was going to be.
I was never able to benefit from it because the one that Pat uses comes from rosemary,
Yeah.
And my gut doesn't like rosemary. I burp that stuff up. When I was taking his Ursabolic product,
Yep.
oh my God, I was burping up rosemary all day long. Maybe that's part of the lack of bioavailability. Maybe it's not very digestible to begin with.
Well, even when they get it from the skin of an apple, which is another natural
Much
source
better,
for it,
right.
you don't see as many, let's say, allergic reactions, but you also don't see, oh my God, this stuff's awesome. So take that for what it's worth.
Let's see here. The next question comes from Mike Collins. He says, I'd like to know what you think about Rad 140. It's supposed to be like testosterone or pretty close. If it is, I plan to use it. Is it? Why not just use testosterone? This is like saying, hey man, I've heard that Volkswagens are just like Maseratis. If it's true, I'm going to buy a Volkswagen because I really want a Maserati.
Right.
Like, why not just save your money and buy the Maserati?
So I haven't used many SARMs, but Rad 140 is one that I did. And I can tell you from experience, because I'm on HRT and have been for years, it is nothing like testosterone. But first, let's kind of review why you'd want to take Rad 140 anyway. The question becomes, are you doing that because you're showing symptoms of low testosterone? Because if you are,
they ain't gonna help you.
Then it's not time to go to a web store and get on SARMs. It's time to go get your levels measured by a doctor.
Especially since, by definition, a selective androgen receptor modulator is exactly that. It only provides some of the effects of an androgen, not all of the effects of an androgen. And a lot of times those effects that it does provide aren't the ones guys that are looking for HRT are looking for, because the HRT is going to mitigate their sadness, their lack of libido. They don't, energy. Those things don't do it. They don't hit that target. That's why they're called SARMs.
Right. And so you hit the nail on the head. Testosterone does a lot more than sex drive and muscle.
Testosterone influences the diversity of your gut microbiome. SARMs aren't going to do that.
Right. And that's a great example. So in my example, instead, you went to the doctor, you got tested, you're in a much better place. Why? Because now you have options, and options are a very nice thing, right, to have. If you are low, or should I say low enough, then you can get, and I would recommend you get the real deal testosterone replacement. Your body knows what testosterone is. It belongs there. It knows exactly what to do with it and what not to do with it. And that is a far preferable situation, in my opinion, to Rad 140, because, that's assuming you get Rad 140, and that's questionable too. So, I have heard from people who went the Rad 140 route, and they took it for 8 weeks, and then I heard back, and they became, guess what, suppressed. So at the end of 8 weeks, he feels god awful. 2 weeks after that, during that time, he felt awful. He was wondering what to do. I said, go to the doctor. He went to the doctor. He found out he was suppressed, but guess what? He wasn't suppressed enough to get HRT.
Yeah.
So now you've really screwed yourself, Yeah.
And depending on your age, whether or not you're going to bounce back is a totally different question.
Right.
And I love your point about if the stuff isn't even real. And that's another thing. Like, you're buying this stuff and you're just assuming that it's legit.
Right.
And it's just,
Look,
I've never been a big SARMs fan. In fact, tomorrow we have a guy named Victor Black coming on the show, and he writes prolifically about bodybuilding and bodybuilding drugs. He lives over in Asia. Not sure if it's Japan but he's coming on tomorrow to talk about YK11. YK11 is widely believed to be a SARM, but it's a form of pregnenolone. It's a form of pregnenolone.
Cool.
And my argument is it's not a SARM. It's an anabolic steroid, but it does some really interesting things that no other anabolic steroid does. and that is it increases follistatin. And anybody who's been chasing the myostatin inhibition conundrum knows that increasing follistatin is a better thing than just decreasing myostatin. Yeah. And Victor's going to come on tomorrow and talk about YK11. Is it a SARM? Is it an anabolic steroid? And what is it good for? And is it safe to use? So
great.
Those of you who are interested in SARMs and stuff, you'll want to catch tomorrow's show for sure.
Yeah, but you know what? My opinion on this is as follows. I don't think these pharmaceutical companies would be bothering at all with SARMs if steroids weren't such a political hot potato. We've had them for 70 years. We know what they do. We know what they don't do. I don't think these companies would be bothering with SARMs for a New York minute if steroids were, if everybody had their head screwed on correctly and people didn't flip at the word steroid, we wouldn't even be having this discussion. So here's the bottom line. Find out where you are, get tested, and then get on HRT if you are low enough, Otherwise, try to optimize it. And this is a really important point too. Let your own testosterone take you as far as it'll go, and then cross the HRT bridge when you have to or you need to, not when you want to necessarily.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we've got more questions. You're listening to and watching the Blueprint Power Hour. If you're watching us on Facebook right now, you can post your questions. We'll answer them today. Later in the show, I'm going to talk about something a little controversial, and that is this whole thing about wearing a mask. I have some critical thinking to apply. I'm not arguing whether masks work or not. That's not what I'm going to talk about. But I promise you that it'll be interesting if you choose to stay to the top of the hour. Cool. We will be right back with more of the Blueprint Power Hour. Stay tuned. You've heard about blood flow restriction training since 2006 on SHR, but you're still on the fence. Well, here's the push. BFR is more effective at building muscle than anabolic steroids. That's right. I went there, but it's because it's the truth. My experience with the Be Strong blood flow restriction system is proof to me. And now I'm asking myself why I waited so long. You'll see undeniable changes in the targeted muscles in days and weeks like nothing you've ever tried before. I will never stop using them. Give Be Strong a try. Go to BStrong.training/super-human and use code SHR for 10% off.
Quest Nutrition makes bars, cookies, chips, and pizzas out of complete dairy-based proteins. Our products minimize net carbs and sugar without sacrificing taste. Each delicious chocolate-flavored chip, cookie chunk, and crunchy crumble is custom-made to maintain Quest macros. It's time to enjoy foods that work for you, not against you. It's time to enjoy your Quest.
Men and women, you've heard about hormone optimization. Do you feel like it's something you want to look into? RenewLifeRx.com is the place to start. Their doctors can help you with the solutions. RenewLifeRx.com has a simple process for lab work, consultation, and taking a deep dive into where your hormone levels can be improved. Superhuman Radio listeners get 30% off your initial lab work and consultation. Go to RenewLifeRx.com to schedule your no-obligation phone consultation today. Feel younger, get in better shape, and be more productive at RenewLifeRx.com.
Are you still on the fence about Body Protection Complex BPC Oral from DrSeeds.com? Listen to Maggie Kuhn, one of the owners of the C-Bus lifting company, Gym in Columbus, Ohio.
I had been having some nagging tendon issues that weren't injuries, just things that were annoying. I'm 58 years old, so just older tendon kind of issues. For us powerlifters, we really don't stop training when we have just nagging issues. We just kind of keep pushing through. And I started the BPC. What I noticed was I was doing some heavy tricep stuff that would have killed me before when I had an elbow problem, and I was able to do this with literally no pain at all.
Go to DrSeeds.com, DrSeeds.com. Use coupon code SHR and save 20% off your bottle of BPC Body Protection Complex today. Hey, this is Carl. For 14 years, you've heard me talk about Can-C eye drops, and they being the reason that I do not need reading glasses at now 61 years old. But I regularly get emails and messages from people who've been using Can-C and having some amazing results. Recently, recently I got an email from a fella named Chad, who, because he was on dexamethasone eye drops for over 6 months, developed a cataract. Can-C eye drops actually reduced my cataract to the point where even my doctor has a hard time finding it. I will never stop using Can-C eye drops twice a day. I've been using them since 2008, he says. And you should be too. There is no better way to keep your eyes healthy and seeing clearly than Can-C eye drops. Go to wisechoicemedicine.com today and get on board, and we will both be looking into the future with very clear vision. I love beef, and if you love beef, listen up. I've discovered the best tasting beef in the world, and that's not an exaggeration, at Piedmontese.com. The Piedmontese breed is famous from Italy for being lean and unbelievably tender, with half the fat and calories of traditional beef. Even typically tough cuts are tender when it comes from the Piedmontese cows. And for the first time ever, Piedmontese cows are being raised here in the USA. Get 2 free 10-ounce New York strips when you purchase $50 or more at Piedmontese.com with code SHR. Go to PIEDMONTESE.com and use code SHR today. You will never eat any other type of beef ever again.
Move over, superheroes. This is the Superhuman Channel.
Welcome back to the BluePrint Power Hour with Coach Rob Regish. You can learn more about him at CoachRobRegish.com. Read literally almost a decade's worth of BluePrint bulletins for $4.99 a month. I mean, you drink crap coffee for around $4.99 a month, or $4.99 a day, actually. All right. So the next question comes. Can you believe I had a Bang energy drink today? You know, I feel bad, right? So Mike Graham says, I've been training for almost 10 years, but not clear whether I've reached my genetic limit. How does somebody know? And how do you know when you're ready for anabolics? Well, first of all, look in the mirror. Are you lean as you could possibly be right now? That's the first step to look at. And then what's your muscle look like? Right.
And so this is an important question. And they're like the previous one about training, there's a lot that goes into it. So there is no clear consensus as to whether you've reached your genetic limit. It would differ for almost everyone, and a lot of things go into it. So there are, however, some benchmarks that I like when evaluating this issue. First, you need to have reached some combination of a 1,200 pound total in the power lifts, right? The bench, squat, and the deadlift. That's usually a pretty good indicator that you've done a real good job with what you have. And so typically that's a 300 pound bench, a 400 pound squat, or a 500 pound deadlift, or something close to that.
But what I guess he didn't specify. Is he after strength, or is he trying to look like a shredded bodybuilder?
Well, I'm getting there.
Okay.
But you aren't my point there is you are not going to be lifting weights like that without a decent amount of muscle. What that muscle looks like, whether or not you maxed it out, that's another matter. But those are very respectable numbers for those people, for most people rather, and it's something to aspire to. If you study most gym goers, though, it isn't really all that common. I mean, what's right. What's more common, at least in the gyms that I visited and trained in, I see a lot of guys with big muscles and not much strength, comparatively speaking. Okay. When I ask people about this, I get a lot of responses like, I'm just trying to look good, bro. And there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, that would be totally unacceptable. In my mind, that is like all show and no go. So as a first step, I would strive to reach those numbers, some combination of a 1,200 pound total. Part of that evaluation, though, should also be this, asking yourself this question. Can I add just 1 pound more? Or can I lift just 1 pound more on most exercises? And if the answer to that question is yes, And in almost every case it is. You still have work to do. It is a crime that there are not half-pound plates in gyms today, or at least 1-pound plates, right? Where you could add 1 or 2 pounds to the bar respectively. The body cannot tell the difference. If I blindfolded you and I put you on a bench and I gave you 300 pounds to take off and lift, and then I did the same thing and gave you 301 or 299, you would not be able to tell the difference.
In fact, that's an interesting comment, and I'll tell you why. Because there's a lot of guys who thought their max lift was X, and then a training partner who's real bad with math loaded the bar with the wrong weight, and even though the bar had an extra 20 pounds, 25 pounds on it, the person expected it to be a certain weight and expected to be able to lift it, and then they've done it. And then they've, like in a deadlift, they've dropped the bar, and then they did the math. Oh my God, that's 25 pounds more than I've ever lifted before, just because they didn't realize what they were lifting.
Yep, I got a great story about that later, but there's one or two other things that go into this. Age is obviously it undisputedly plays a role. Nobody's body at 40, a male anyway, is making as much testosterone as they did at 20. So HRT around that time, or if you qualify, might be necessary for you to gain optimally. Now, in my mind, that's not exactly, strictly speaking, you're using a steroid, but come on, it's not most people's definition. Having said that, don't think for 1 minute that just because you're on test means you're on easy street. And if you don't believe me, I want you to go ahead and start shooting 500, 700, 1,000 milligrams a week. It is no miracle. It really isn't. Does it make building muscle easier? Yes. But is it going to give you the kind of pro muscle that a lot of people think that they see in the magazines? They think they're going to get that from testosterone. It's not going to happen. It does not solve all of your problems. So here's the bottom line in my mind. I would achieve that 1,200 pound total first. I would then evaluate your training and diet over and over for months, if not years. Ask yourself that question, am I still getting stronger on things? And to your point, Carl, am I lean enough so that I can actually see the muscle I built? And do I have the kind of muscle maturity that only people get after a decade or more under the heavy iron? I'm willing to bet after you go through those exercises that you'll be able to extend your best natural years, at least somewhat, and in some cases considerably. And doing so is only going to give you a bigger base, right, to jump off from. That jumping off point, if it's way up here, you're going to be at a whole different level than if somebody who walked into the gym the first day and said, hey, I got to get on the gas. What should I start taking? That person is in a real bad way. So I would do those 2 or 3 things and then reevaluate. Not an easy question to answer.
No. And you know deep in your heart, you know if you're really doing the hard work, and you really know if you're eating right, and you're really getting good sleep, and you're doing it day in and day out like a true athlete would do.
Right.
You know if you are. You don't need to ask anybody. But look, if you want to get on, get on. Just do what you want to do. Ken Jugan says, I started using Boswellia, that Boswellia stuff you've been talking about, but haven't experienced any relief yet. How long is it supposed to take? I have pretty bad knee injury and was hoping it would kick in fast so I could start training heavy again. Injury is different than what Boswellia is going to fix, I think, right?
Well, so we established last week Boswellia. First off, you need to get stuff that's standardized for the active ingredients, boswellic acids. They're anywhere between 4 and 6, depending upon whose literature you read. And further, that they know it works, at least in part, by inhibiting 5-lipooxygenase, which is an enzyme that produces leukotrienes, which are inflammatory. So you kill those, you kill the inflammation, or at least most of it. couple of things then that can help you and others with respect to Boswellia. First, finding a standardized product that contains those actives. You're looking for a material called Aproflex, Apressflex, sometimes also known as Indian frankincense. It is standardized for 20% AKBA, which for those wondering stands for acetyl 11-keto beta boswellic acids. In 2014, there was a clinical trial done using that material, which showed a nearly 20% reduction in pain scores over baseline within the first 5 days. A 50% reduction occurred in 30 days, and further, a 70% reduction occurred in 90 days. So, like I said last week, it's not like taking an Advil and boom, your headache's gone. It takes a little bit longer for most of these natural compounds to work. Once you've found the good stuff, give it some time, right? It's much better, in my opinion, than Advil or Tylenol, given the toxicity involved. And I think I gave the example last week of somebody I know who unfortunately has kidney issues because of long-term chronic Advil or Tylenol, I can't remember which one, dosing. So anyway, there's one other thing people need to know that are using Boswellia that's going to help them, and that is simply this. I found a study showing that when it's taken with food, they saw much higher blood levels of those boswellic acids than than when taken without food. And specifically, they mentioned some fat. So the way the scientists concluded that study, they said this: for the first time, these data reveal the detailed kinetics of boswellic acids after oral dosing of an extract and demonstrate the profound, and that I'm using very specifically that word, their word, profound effect of food intake on the pharmacokinetic profile of Boswellia serrata. So, scientists typically shy away from terms like profound and very definitive words like that. But, there it is. So take it with food, give it at least 5 days, and then reevaluate.
But now this compound is shown to reduce and eliminate pain over that period of time, correct?
Yes.
That has nothing to do with healing. That was my point with his question. His question says, how long does this stuff take to work? And I have a pretty bad knee injury and was hoping to kick in fast. So it's going to get rid of pain. But if the injury subsides, it's going to get rid of pain. Or if it's healing during the period of time you're taking it, the real issue is you need to heal your problem. So what's going on with your knee? Do you have a bucket handle tear? Do you feel the knee is binding up? You can't lock it out? Where is the pain? Is it on the inside of the knee, on the outside of the knee? Is it the front of the knee? Is it the kneecap? You need to identify the pain first so that you can fix the injury. That should be number one on your list, because masking pain and maintaining the injury is how I lost this tricep. I trained anyway, and who knew that the tendon was unraveling, and literally snapped it. And had I just focused on figuring out how to get the pain to go away from fixing the problem, I would have never needed tricep surgery.
That is a really good point. So if you listen to his question, he's saying, how long does this stuff take to work? So the question in my mind then is, what do you mean by work? If you mean take the pain away, that's one thing. If you mean fix the underlying injury, that's another thing.
Right, because you would imagine that that's the question he's asking, because he wants to start training again. No one would train with an injury only to make it worse. So really, he needs to understand that while Boswellia may mute some of the pain, it may not be healing the problem. The problem may need to be addressed.
Yeah, and that's that's not uncommon. When people say to me, how long does it take ecdysterone to work? Well, define work. You want to see, for some people, like when I was younger, to me, something works. The term work means how quickly am I going to see the number on the scale go up? For power lifters, it's how much longer before these numbers start going up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So work means different things to different people. You need to define that.
Yeah. Yeah, but I would have the knee looked at. I really would have an MRI done of the knee, see a qualified orthopedic surgeon, and see if there's something that needs to be addressed in the knee. Yeah. And if so, get it addressed, and then worry about the pain going away. Once you know that, because if you make the pain go away and you go in and you start squatting heavy and you end up blowing out your knee just because it didn't hurt, it's like that old analogy. You remember the old analogy I used to use about how modern medicine works? So if mechanics were like modern doctors, you'd go into the mechanic and say, there's this ominous clanging noise coming from my engine. It's got to be a problem. Right. And the mechanic, he listens. He goes, yeah, that's loud. That's definitely something's wrong with your engine. And he goes, but I can fix it for you. And he gives you a pair of earplugs. He says, just wear these earplugs when you drive the car, because if the noise is gone, then the problem has to be gone, right? But no, the problem is still there. You're just ignoring it now. And so you need to get that knee checked out. Otherwise, you're going to end up with problems that later on in life, take it from me, every injury is an unnecessary pitfall. Yeah. If you would have stopped and thought, because everybody who has an injury where they tear a ligament, I tore 3 hamstring attachments, I knew, I just don't feel like something's wrong today while I'm deadlifting. I should have just stopped. Yeah. No, I'm just going to muscle through it. And here, I muscled my way into a handful of injuries now. Let's take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we have the BluePrint tip of the day. Stay tuned. Later in the show, I'm going to address some critical thinking as it relates to mask wearing, and I'm sure that I'll piss some people off. So stay tuned. Oh, hold on a second. Let me just get back here. There we go. And a 70%. Oh, sorry.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
Imagine if you had a digital twin, one that you could compare your own health and fitness outcomes to, one that showed you whether or not the things you're doing, food you're eating, or drinks you're drinking are actually working for you or against you. Well, now you can. The first ever advanced epigenetic saliva test that compares 20 million different data points of your DNA to help predict what is aging you faster or keeping you younger is being introduced to my audience at a 70% discount from the normal price. Go to seeds.md/epigenetic-test today to learn how to get your own digital twin that will help you take the steps to live longer and stay stronger. Don't wait, because this is a limited time offer not available anywhere else. Once these tests are gone, they're gone. Again, go to seeds.md/epigenetic-test today to learn more.
Planet Earth CBD offers a fast-acting transdermal patch that targets your aches and pains for the relief you need. Not only is the patch uniquely patented, but it is widely believed to provide larger quantities of available cannabinoids to the source of pain than other brands' subpar products. Effective for 24 to 48 hours. Experience the benefits of Planet Earth's high-quality transdermal patch. Manufactured by Next Generation Technology in an FDA-registered facility. This pressure-sensitive adhesive delivers rich hemp extract directly through the skin. Be it a neck ache or a headache, you can count on CBD to take off the edge. Go to planetearthcbd.com today to learn more.
Whether your goal is to build muscle or burn fat, you'll find everything you need at Redcon One. Need help getting a good night's sleep? Try Fade Out, or the most popular pre-workout supplement on the market today, Total War. Sign up for their new Transformation Challenge and win $10,000, or shop for apparel that people at the gym will know that you are serious about your training. Need a testosterone booster that works? check out Boomstick. Whatever you need, you'll find the best quality supplements on the market at Redcon One. Go to redcon1.com. That's REDCON, the number 1.com, or go to superhumanradio.net and click the Redcon One banner ad today. You've heard me talk about the chill pill on the show and how effective it is at helping people who suffer from social anxiety, or sometimes when you just want to take the edge off to a long, stressful day. Well, listen to this story from Dylan Goutreau.
Definitely takes anxiety away, which I have a long history of having. Started out at 2 milligrams a day of Xanax. That was at 8 years old. And so I stopped using benzos 3 years ago. Extremely difficult. Yeah, so I spent about 3 years trying to find anything and everything I could that would be healthy for me to help with anxiety. Because I'm talking, full out panic attack. The chill pill was the first thing that I found that actually in the middle of a panic attack I can take, and it definitely subsides.
Go to drseeds.com. That's DRSEEDS.com. Use coupon code SHR and save 20% off your first bottle of the chill pill. Check it out. I promise this is one supplement that delivers. Do you remember those delicious toaster pastries you had when you were a kid? You know, the rectangular sugar-filled snacks? Well, guess what? Legendary Foods has just made low-carb toaster pastry. This is the first of its kind, and honestly, these things are amazing. They have 3 to 4 net carb, less than 1 gram of sugar, and 9 grams of protein. You can eat them right out of the wrapper or lightly toast them. The only question is, which flavor, strawberry or brown sugar cinnamon? They're available at eatlegendary.com and Amazon.
You're listening to the Superhuman Channel. We're ripped and we're ready.
Welcome back. So what is the blueprint tip of the day, Rob?
Yeah, you know what? The tip of the day, this was really cool. Thoughts on my biggest returns on investment. And so a little bit about the concept first. Return on investment is usually associated, right, with the financial services industry. So simply stated, if you invested 10 grand 5 years ago in a stock and it's worth 25 grand today, you got a pretty respectable return on investment. But the term lends itself to all sorts of scenarios. So I thought it would be fun to look back at my best returns on investment for the money that I invested in physical culture. So here we go. The first big return on investment that I can remember was in college. So I know this is ancient history, but it was 1988, my freshman year, and my roommate and I found a course called Super Big in 6 weeks. It was in the back of Muscle Mag International, and now defunct. And it was a tiny little black and white classified ad that instructed you to send $20, actually a money order, $20 money order, to someplace in California. And they, in return, they'd mail you the course. So we both coughed up $10 and waited. And about almost a month later, I remember going to my little mailbox in college, and there it is, all 9 pages of it. Now, if memory serves, it was created for underweight college football players. The results that we got from those 9 pages were phenomenal. Now, it didn't happen all in 6 weeks, of course, but certainly some of it did. And then a little bit longer for the full payoff. The knowledge I gained from that little book took me a long, long way. In particular, it taught me how to eat, how to shop, how to prepare, and how to consume vast quantities of food, which is a lot more important than people think. It's been said that the toughest part of this game is the battle with the knife and the fork, not the workouts, and I would concur. So there's a lot more to it too than just mixing up weight gain shakes and making, a few sandwiches. In the grand scheme of things, I would attribute between the diet and the workout in that book, at least 20 pounds of permanent muscle from that little book. Okay. That got me from $160 to 180.
But also those things became foundational strategies that you used for the rest of your life too.
Yes.
When you look at
Absolutely.
ROI, you have to not only look at the intrinsic value of how the investment increased in value, but then the
Future.
extrinsic effect of it throughout time.
Yes. Very good point. Yeah, it's called future value. You're absolutely right. So for $10, that little book is still paying dues. The next major breakthrough was when I bought the book Super Squats by Randall J. Strawson. And again, for around $10, I learned things that literally changed my life and redefined what the words hard work really meant. It was a lot more than just learning how to do breathing squats and breathing pullovers, right? Which are linchpins of the program. But listen, anybody can tell you to do those two things. There's stuff in that book that goes way beyond that. The chapter on diet alone was worth its weight in gold. Diet and psychology. In 2 years, I put on about 50 pounds. Okay. Not all of it was muscle, but a lot of it was for sure. I was 19 at the time, right, of its publication, which was, I went back and looked. It was first printed in February of 1989, and I bought it in the same month. It also got me strong. I mean, for me, ridiculously strong, given what I learned within its pages. And so that was probably, looking back, my best ROI ever, right? Bringing me from 180 to almost 230. Again, for around $10. And just so everyone knows, it's not much more expensive today at around $17 for a brand new copy and $12 used. Circa 1995, I'm age 25. I bought the two books, Big Beyond Belief by Leo Costa. I know you've had him on many times. And Dr. DePasquale, again, who was, I think, your first guest, he wrote The Anabolic Diet. And from what I learned in those two books, I gained another 22 pounds. I hit my all-time high of 252. And I can tell you this, I can still remember when and where I was precisely the day I crossed the 250-pound threshold, because one of my long-term goals was met. Now, having said that, just like buying stocks, not every ROI is successful. There were many courses and books I paid handsomely for and got nothing. In one case, I spent, it was more than $70. I remember that, which was a fortune in those days. I was dirt poor. You know, you're working maybe a part-time job in college. It was a fortune in those days. I got worse than nothing out of that book.
What book was that?
Well, it left me grossly overtrained. I don't recall the name of it. I wish I could. It left me grossly overtrained and injured. Okay. And so that was a very tough learning experience, but still, nevertheless, a learning experience. And, you know, when I look back at it, I am constantly amazed at how many wrong turns I took and how much money I wasted, time and money. The situation is even worse today because there are an infinite number, right, of programs to try and experts to consult, and no way to tell really in some cases who's writing them or what their credentials are or whether these people are even trustworthy. I really do feel for the kids that are coming up today. You know, at least back in my day, you could say there was no internet and a dearth of information. Okay. But there were far fewer programs to parse, right? I could kind of look at them and say, well, that sounds like it might work. It's one of 10. I'm going to try, instead of, you know, one of 1,000 today. And I'm not sure what works and what doesn't. Back then, unlike today, not in every case, but in most cases, back then people put their name on products. You know why? Same reason I put my name on the bulletin, because I'm proud of them. with the anonymity of the internet today and these fly-by-night people that are trying to get rich quick.
And what do they call them? Nom de plumes. Like people write under fake names. They not even the person you're dealing with a lot of. And that goes back a long time. That's nothing new because there's that program that you liked, Power Building.
Yep.
That was actually created by Sean Phillips, but he had a different name in the magazine, right?
Brad Jeffries.
Yeah, so you really don't even know who's writing this stuff half the time, on top of it.
Right. And it's even worse with the internet. Why? Because, we've got CGI. You can have a website up in a day that looks so substantial that you'll think, wow, this has to be a big company. And it's some guy working out of his apartment. Right. With completely fake before and after pictures. Right.
Yeah. Right.
And they're a lot harder to see today than the old days and I'm telling you this, I saw it for myself. I saw a person put duct tape on their back to pull their waistline in. Duct tape. I'm not kidding. And worse in these before and after pictures. So, look, the point is this. You couldn't conceivably today go around in circles for years, forever, wasting tons of money trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. But having said that, I digress. Fortunately for me, I found some absolute gems, right, in the prime of my life. Those 10 years between 15 and 25, I certainly ordered and used the right courses. And I was healthy enough to make the most of them. It's funny, too. The best of them were dirt cheap. I told you, $10. I don't think in any case I paid more than $25 for a book. And Dr. DePasquale's and maybe Big Beyond Belief were a little more expensive, but not much. And here's the other important point. Every book that I just mentioned to you, I still have today. I still have them as information sources, both for myself and also in passing down to my son and others. And so whatever you do and wherever you decide to put your money, I encourage you to evaluate things as a return on investment, because whether it's 30 days or 30 years after you invest in something, you should be closer to your goals after dropping that money. Very simple. Return on investment. Yep.
You want to stay with me through this next segment where I'm going to talk about the whole mask conundrum?
It's very pertinent to me because my gym opens next Monday.
Okay. All right. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I want to address something. I'm a huge fan of critical thinking. I try to exemplify opportunities of critical thinking, not because I want you to take my opinion and stand with me or stand against me, but because I want people just to start thinking critically so that you can make your own choices in life instead of having other people dictate your choices in life. Hell, that's freedom, by the way.
Yeah.
Critical thinking is your first example of personal freedom, thinking on your own and making your own choices. So we're going to talk about masks when we come back. So stay tuned. You are watching the Blueprint Power Hour. We'll be right back. If there is one mineral you should be worried about not getting enough of, it's magnesium. Magnesium is the body's master mineral, powering over 300 critical reactions, including detoxification, fat metabolism, energy, and even digestion is influenced by the presence of magnesium. That's why I'm so excited to tell you about a new magnesium product I've been taking now called Magnesium Breakthrough. It's the ultimate magnesium supplement, easily the best I've ever seen or experienced. With all 7 forms of magnesium, I was able to arrange an amazing deal for my audience, and I guarantee It's the best deal available on this product. Seriously, with volume discounts combined with our custom 10% coupon code SHR10, you can save up to 40% off select packages of Magnesium Breakthrough. And I promise that this deal is only available on this specific website, magbreakthrough.com/SHR. You won't find that deal on Amazon or even on the company's own website. Go to magbreakthrough.com/SHR and use code SHR10 to save up to 40% off select packages of Magnesium Breakthrough. Hey, this is Carl. For 14 years, you've heard me talk about Can-C eye drops, and they being the reason that I do not need reading glasses at now 61 years old. But I regularly get emails and messages from people who've been using Can-C and having some amazing results. Recently, I got an email from a fella named Chad, who, because he was on dexamethasone eye drops for over 6 months, developed a cataract. Can-C eye drops actually reduced my cataract to the point where even my doctor has a hard time finding it. I will never stop using Can-C eye drops twice a day. I've been using them since 2008, he says. And you should be too. There is no better way to keep your eyes healthy and seeing clearly than Can-C eye drops. Go to wisechoicemedicine.com today and get on board, and we will both be looking into the future with very clear vision.
Quest Nutrition makes bars, cookies, chips, and pizzas out of complete dairy-based proteins. Our products minimize net carbs and sugar without sacrificing taste. Each delicious chocolate-flavored chip, cookie chunk, and crunchy crumble is custom-made to maintain Quest macros. It's time to enjoy foods that work for you, not against you. It's time to enjoy your Quest.
You've heard about blood flow restriction training since 2006 on SHR, but you're still on the fence. Well, here's the push. BFR is more effective at building muscle than anabolic steroids. That's right, I went there, but it's because it's the truth. My experience with the Be Strong blood flow restriction system is proof to me. And now I'm asking myself why I waited so long. You'll see undeniable changes in the targeted muscles in days and weeks like nothing you've ever tried before. I will never stop using them. Give Be Strong a try. Go to BStrong.training/super-human and use code SHR for 10% off. I love beef. And if you love beef, listen up. I've discovered the best tasting beef in the world, and that's not an exaggeration, at Piedmontese.com. The Piedmontese breed is famous from Italy for being lean and unbelievably tender with half the fat and calories of traditional beef. Even typically tough cuts are tender when it comes from the Piedmontese cows. And for the first time ever, Piedmontese cows are being raised here in the USA. Get 2 free 10-ounce New York strips when you purchase $50 or more at Piedmontese.com with code SHR. Go to PIEDMONTESE.com and use code SHR today. You will never eat any other type of beef ever again.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
This is the Superhuman Channel, doing reps with the weight of the world.
Welcome back. All right, so like all of my critical thinking discussions on this show, this will move quickly, so keep up. 40,000 people a month die from cigarette smoking in the United States. That's a pretty big number. I mean, think about that. 40,000 people a month die as a direct result of sucking smoke into their lungs 20 times a day for years. Okay. Big number, right, Rob?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, that's not including the number of people who are impacted by secondhand smoke, which I took the time to look up just now. And according to the CDC website, 41,000 deaths per year are a result of secondhand smoke, 733 from lung cancer attributed to someone else in their household that smoked, and 33,951 annual deaths from heart disease as a result of inhaling the smoke that someone else. Now, the reason I'm distinguishing these two is because when we talk about masks, the reason to wear a mask keeps changing. Originally, it was to wear a mask so you wouldn't get the virus. Then it became wear a mask so you don't give the virus to other people. And obviously that assumes you're sick and are asymptomatic, because there's a 5 to 11 day incubation period where if you have been exposed to the virus, but you don't have symptoms yet, that you are still contagious. So we're talking about a very narrow period of time,
Right.
in a very small subset of people who are asymptomatic for a period of time. And the argument is you wear a mask for other people, not for yourself. If you don't wear a mask, then you don't care about other people. In fact, I had somebody tell me that I may as well tell people to F you if I don't want to wear a mask. I'm basically saying F you to them by not wearing a mask. And there's a lot of people. Recently, Elisa got shamed at a Trader Joe's by 2 checkout clerks. She went right to the manager. She's not letting that stuff slide.
Shamed.
Yeah, because they refused to talk to her. They stepped back when she walked up. They stepped back.
Wow.
Now, keep in mind, they had masks on.
Yeah.
They stepped back and they wouldn't talk to her. She was talking to them. They wouldn't even talk. They just looked down. Meanwhile, the person in front, they were all laughing it up, enjoying it up, but they all had masks on. So she went to the manager and said something. The manager went over and talked to them, and you could see that they were nodding their head yes. Well, she didn't have a mask on. So now people are being shamed for not wearing masks. Now, the reason I'm pointing out the secondhand smoke is because smokers make other people sick too. So this whole notion that wearing a mask is for other people, well, not smoking is for other people too. Okay. But as soon as you start comparing cigarette smoking to wearing a mask, people start to say, well, cigarette smoking is a choice. Catching a virus isn't a choice. No, you're right. But choosing to wear a mask is a choice. And I can choose to wear a mask or not. I am the master of my destiny. I am the captain of my ship. If I want to take risks, have unprotected sex, oh, God forbid, I'm allowed to do that here in the United States. If I want to eat raw meat, go eat raw fish at a sushi bar, I'm allowed to do that here in the United States. I can put myself at risk. I can take my whole family to the sushi bar and put them at risk too. No problem. But if I don't wear a mask, I am somehow not considerate of other people. Now, I'm not arguing whether or not masks are effective or not. I'll leave that for the idiots. And why do I say idiots? Because we have the Surgeon General of the United States coming on national TV telling everybody masks are worthless. They actually may make you more prone to getting the virus. And then you have other groups out there publishing studies, using anecdotal information and saying, no, masks do work. I don't care about that. I'm not going to get into that argument. All I'm trying to do is point out the lack of critical thinking in our population. Cigarette smoking not only hurts the person who's smoking, but also the people that they live with. And it's a big number. It's 40,000 people a month. Now, why isn't anyone posting memes every day about cigarettes? Why isn't somebody posting memes going, don't start smoking, you're going to make your young child sick, do it for them, don't start smoking, you're costing us more money for healthcare? Why is no one posting memes about cigarette smoke? You know why that is, Rob?
No idea.
Because the media hasn't told them to be upset about it. That's why.
Well, I was going to say, why is it the only place I'm hearing this is on Superhuman Radio and not the World News?
Because the media doesn't see. So people don't realize this, but if you're not a critical thinker, you have traded your brain for a receiver so that the media can tweak you every single day. Okay, today be mad about this. Tomorrow be mad about that. Today be mad about. Why isn't the media telling you every time someone starts smoking, they are hurting all of us? They're hurting us directly by exposing us to their cigarette smoke. They're hurting us indirectly because those bills that they will incur to keep them alive and try to save them from their own stupidity will be borne by the rest of us who pay for health insurance. Why doesn't the media talk about this? Now, if you're a critical thinker, you have to ask yourself why that is. Is 40,000 deaths a month not enough to garner the attention of the media? When 40,000 deaths over the course of months it makes no sense. When you add up all the deaths from tobacco over the past 50 years, it's millions and millions and millions. Yeah. Yet the media doesn't seem to care about that. They don't think you should worry about it either.
And, in the past 20 to 25 years, the mainstream media has been very effective at programming people as to what is good, what is bad, what you should like, what you should not like. And, I only wish there were more sources of information like this, where we had people who do what you do, which is think critically about a subject. And when you do realize, like some of the stats that you just put out, you see the absurdity of it.
It is absurd. We don't care about 40,000 people a month, but wear a mask because it means you care. Well, you know what? I think that anytime you see a person who smokes cigarettes, you should go up to them and chastise them and shame them and say, you're hurting everybody by doing that. But you won't see that because the media doesn't want you to be mad about that. That's not what they want you to be mad about. And your brain has become a receiver. It's become a receiver for the media message. So tomorrow you're going to be angry about something else. And the day after that, they're going to tweak you about something else. And you're an idiot if you let them do that. I'm sorry. It's the God's honest truth. I'm going to hurt some feelings, but you are an idiot if you are part of this. This is a charade that's being foisted upon the American public. And the media is jerking our chains because they can. And by controlling us, they control where we look. And by controlling where we look, they can sell us things and they can make us do things. And it's terrible. So don't tell me about masks anymore. I don't want to hear about masks. I'll wear it if it's mandatory. I have to go in someplace to put on a mask. I put on this little thing here. People have said to me, that doesn't work. And I've looked at them wearing those green masks that they give you at the dentist's office. Those don't work either. It says right on the box that it's no good for preventing viral spread. Yeah. So my mask that doesn't work is just as good as your mask that doesn't work, except mine I think is a little more stylish. You have a problem with the gyms in your town.
Yeah, on Monday they're telling us you absolutely have to wear your mask.
You just froze. Yeah, they want you to wear a mask while you're training, right?
Right. And so what's preferable here? Somebody doesn't get enough oxygen and perhaps passes out or worse, or they wore a mask and therefore everyone feels better about themselves. It doesn't make any sense. It would make more sense if we had more people talking like you are and citing facts like you are, which, by the way, are undeniable. It's not an opinion. 40,000 people a month die.
That's the CDC's number.
And it's probably understated. I don't know how many people die or suffer because of secondhand smoke, but a lot of them do. And they're going to continue to suffer. Generally speaking, I think the mass media does everything it can to sway the opinion of the public to whatever narrative it is that they want to accomplish. And they continue to do it until they get there.
Absolutely. You know what? Yeah. Keith Bell, who's been on my show, he's a microbiome guy, very, very smart guy.
Yeah.
Posted something on Facebook this morning. There's more and more evidence coming out every week that this COVID SARS-2 was created in a lab, man-made. Now there's numerous papers coming out, even from inside China, that it was created in a lab and most likely accidentally escaped. Have you heard that on MSNBC, CNN, NBC, CBS, wherever you get your news from? Have you heard that lately?
No, it's other people's fault.
No, so this is my point. So they don't report the news anymore. They control what you pay attention to. For some reason, they don't want you to know about that. They don't want you to pay attention to it. For whatever reason. Don't ask me why. I don't know what the agenda is and what the mission is. All I know is that if you watch the news day in and day out, you will plot it. Write it down. What are you pissed off today about? Antifa, whatever it is. Write it. Write it down every day. Do it for a month and then go back and look at the headlines in the media those days. You were told to be pissed off about those things. You are a sap. You're a sap.
We are miles and miles away from when Walter Cronkite was one of the most trusted men in America. And today they don't even attempt to they don't even
Masquerade. Right.
right. I mean, they're pretty transparent now. Hey, this is the narrative that we're selling, and sooner or later you're buying. They don't even pretend to be objective. That's a little disturbing. That should be disturbing to anyone who is concerned with the truth. If you have a media that doesn't even pretend to be objective anymore, that is step one in Nazi Germany. Was it not?
They are yes, because Hitler took over the media. He wanted his information to be put out there. He knew that if he had the lies repeated frequently enough, they would be accepted as facts.
Right. Yep.
And the media worked hand in hand in that process, and they're doing it again here, whether you want to know it or not. Now, you don't have to get into the fight with the media. All you need to do is understand that your reactions to them is exactly what they want. So stop reacting to them. Let them go. Let them go control other people.
Someone said once, you don't need to change the world. You just need to change your own little corner of it.
That's it. And you know what the funny thing is? I know people who are so successful, so wealthy, they don't pay attention to any of this. And guess what? Their world is the same day in and day out. They're not being affected by what's going on in Detroit. They're not because the reality is you're not affected in your life by 90% of what you get mad about. 90% that gets your ass puckered up, that you're pissed off, that did you hear so-and-so is going to do this? And did you hear such and such is going to do that? Has no effect on your life. Meanwhile, you waste valuable energy processing it and reacting to it. See, it's an evolution. One thing, it's an evolutionary edict for us to be able to identify danger in our environment. Is there an animal that wants to eat us? Is there poison that we may? That's part of our evolution. That's what keeps us alive. What has changed is in the past, we only had to worry about these 30 feet around us.
Right.
Now we're getting fed information from Argentina and from Venezuela, and it's getting us excited like the danger is right here in our environment.
Yeah.
And it's not.
I became so disgusted about 2 months ago. I shut it all off. And you know what? My life is no different than it was 2 months ago before I shut it off.
I stopped watching the news, all of it. I stopped watching any of it, all of it. The only thing I do is every night, Elisa and I watch 1 hour of TV. It's a British broadcasting special called Grantchester. We just found this series. There's 5 seasons through 2. We watch 1 hour and we do not get caught up in the news at all. I don't watch. And I used to love certain shows on the news. I refuse to watch them anymore because I refuse to allow them any disk space on this hard drive. Any. I won't do it.
That's a very interesting point, and I guess this will be my last one. Sit down sometime and watch the BBC or some foreign news channel and compare and contrast that to the news that's reported or not reported, as the case may be, in the United States. That should tell you everything that you need to know about our quote-unquote news media in this country.
You know, we have freedom of the press, but they've taken that too far. So I am not saying censor the press. I'm saying uncensor the press. Look at what the media is focusing on delivering. Look at what they're ignoring. And if it's blatant that they're ignoring things that are important to people just to be able to control their opinions, then those media outlets should be punished somehow. I don't know how, but freedom of the press it used to be freedom of the press to tell whatever they want.
Yeah.
Now it's freedom of the press to only tell what they want.
Yep.
That's it. We'll see you tomorrow with more Supreme Radio. Thanks for being here. CoachRobRegish.com. Check it out.
Thank you.